Whoever is the host, please give me a thumbs up when we should start. Have I gotten a heads up? No, not yet. Marina still looks very concentrated. Okay. Can you please spotlight Alix as well? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Good morning, Sunam.
Good morning, Alix. Welcome to the Wish Fulfilling Tree, your first class ticket to paradise. How to keep the book. So my first question to you would be, who does not even know what the book is? Please type a 1 in the chat. So are you here to find out what the book is? Looks like everybody knows. So who knows what the book is and want to start the practice because you have not yet done so? Please type a 2. So you're all already doing your book. So then I assume you are here to find out more details. Oh, there is a 2. If you want to find out more details on how to keep the book. Oh, there are 2, yeah. Or if you want to know all the tricks how to keep your book 6 times per day, then please type a 3. Yeah. Yes, I think that's why Alix and I are teaching that class, because we are also want to be better bookkeepers. I titled it The Wish Fulfilling Tree, your first ticket, your first class ticket to paradise. So the question is, why do we keep the book? Why do we want to keep the book? It reminds us 6 times per day to think about emptiness. I don't know about you guys, but I remember emptiness 0.01% per day when I'm lucky. So it is really a reminder of the correct worldview. And the most important thing is that you work constantly on your karmic balance, on your seed balance. I imagine it always like, one of these weights. Here are sitting the bad seeds, and here are sitting the good seeds. And when you really do your book 6 times per day, you are slowly but constantly changing that balance, that you plant more good seeds and less bad seeds. So it's really a slow working practice, but an incredible effective practice. And I noticed it when I started the book, and I see it in many people who are starting the book. After half a year, the people suddenly start shining, being more happy, changing their world to the positive. I think it has an overall effect on your life, on your happiness, as said, because you are changing that balance. But it is also incredibly effective in reaching your goals because you're constantly working on it. I don't know about you guys, but when there is New Year coming around and I make my wish list for the new year, I oftentimes forget after 1 week what I even wanted to reach. Not even talking about reaching these goals. And having your book constantly reminds you to work on it. And I think that's the secret of the book. It's a slow cooking stew, which gets better and better over time. By the way, my name is Sunam, in case you don't know me. I'm the director of Diamond Mountain. I'm practicing with Geshe Michael since 16 years now. And the book was one of the first practices I took up, and it is dear to my heart. And it just reminds me 6 times per day of emptiness, of karma, of my goals, of the priorities in my life. And I'm so happy, Alix, that you are with me.
Thank you for having me as your partner here today, Sunam.
I think I need to. The sun is rising in Diamond Mountain.
And it's great to see so many friends here and people that maybe we have never met yet. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Alix Rowland, and I'm a retired real estate agent. I live in Durango, Colorado, and I spend most of my time now helping various projects in the Worldview organizations, which is a great joy to do and an honor. I wanted to share why I think the book is important. Sunam gave us so many great reasons to start our book or keep our book better. And I love how she mentioned that it will help us reach our goals. It can help us with our small goals. It can help us with the things we're reaching for, like those New Year's resolutions. Isn't that so true that we even forget what our goals are? But it can also help us with our highest goals, our big wishes for a better world, seeing emptiness directly, the direct perception of emptiness, and a goal like a major transition from finding a partner or starting a new career. I was recently studying about seeing emptiness directly with Geshe Michael. And the book is one of the things that he emphasizes that we need to do if that is our goal. I'm not sure if anyone is new here. Seeing emptiness directly means seeing the ultimate nature of reality. It's a very special and rare experience that a practitioner can have. So I was learning about this, that keeping our book will help us get there. And it makes sense because of Sunam's illustration about slowly, slowly we change our karmic seeds. But I also heard in the same teaching about different causes to be able to see emptiness directly. Different kinds of causes, direct causes and contributing causes. The contributing causes are like the water and sunlight that make a seed grow. There's many different kinds of causes. The cause that attracted my attention and got me really excited is called a passive cause. Now, this is the third time that I've studied this idea about passive causes and the importance of them. And I have to admit that the first two times I heard about it, it didn't sound that important to me. The example Geshe Michael gives is that a wave in Indonesia doesn't stop a baby from being born in New York City. And I thought, well, yeah, I guess, but what does that have to do with my life in a practical way? This time when I heard it, though, I got this sense that everything around me is allowing me to be what I am right now. To live this very cool life that I'm living because it's not stopping me. Not just the people I meet or the circumstances I come across that help me, but even the trees and the home I live in and the town. So what are the passive causes for us to be here today on this Zoom meeting? Every single thing in the universe is supporting us to be here right now. So I kind of got excited about this idea. But then I started to think, well, what if I want to make a breakthrough, like a dynamic breakthrough? Everything in the universe is also keeping me where I am right now. Because like makes like. So the way things are tends to be the way things are. And it's hard to make a big change. So this is where the book comes in for me, is that I can change things in the universe that are keeping me from jumping by watching the negative things and the positive things. We celebrate the good that we do, and that makes more goodness in our lives. And we can watch the negative things that we do because they might be out there stopping us from reaching our goals. Well, they are. I think I could definitely say that there are negative things we have done in the past that are stopping us from having a breakthrough moment. So that's my inspiration right now for trying harder on my book. And this tool to reach paradise. And in this next hour, we're going to give you some basic instructions how to do it in case anyone is new. And then we'll really focus on some tips and tricks of how to do it better. So what is it that we're going to be doing here is keeping track of the negative and the positive 6 times a day, as Sunam said.
Optimum.
Optimum. Yes. Oh, thank you. And I also realized I was talking too fast. So thank you for optimal. It's called the 6 times book, but that doesn't mean you can't do it 5 times or 4 times, 3 times. Maybe you start with a 1-time book. Mm-hmm. So we have to start where we are and start with something we can try to keep, stay with, right? I love the quote from Master Shantideva about giving is that we start small with carrots and potatoes before we try to give like our whole arm. So that applies here as well. We need to start small and then build our habit. When we see results, we'll want to keep going. So this is how we manage our karma, by noticing the small things that we're doing during the day. And what are we going to keep track of? If you're a brand new beginner, then you're going to be starting with the top 10 good deeds. We also maybe have taken refuge in the Buddha, and that is our refuge commitments. We can keep track of that. Maybe you have 5 layperson vows, or you've become inspired and taken monks or nuns vows, like Sunam has. Maybe there's others of you out there. We have bodhisattva vows that we could take, and other higher vows. So the main thing to start with, and even for experienced practitioners, maybe to go back to, is the top 10 good deeds. So let's review those top 10 deeds quickly. And if you could share the PPT slide of those top 10. In case you don't know these, you can take a screenshot. In the text, in the ancient text, things are often stated in the negative. So on the left column, you'll see the top 10 stated in the negative: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Those are things we can do with our body. And then with our speech: lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle talk. And these are things we can do, but we want to avoid with our speech, I should say. And then things which are in the mind, motivating the other activities we have: jealousy, ill will, and wrong worldview. 8, 9, and 10, you might recognize as the 3 poisons, actually. Running the show from the background, kind of like those passive causes, maybe. In the book, it's great to state things in the positive. It works better for me. It keeps us focused on what we want to do, what our goals are. And so in the other column, I've stated them in the positive. I'll say it for the translator's interpretation. Protecting life would be positive of killing. Respecting others' property. Respecting others' partners. Speaking truthfully. Speaking to bring people together. Speaking kindly. And useful speech. And then the 3 of the mind is being happy when others get what they want, helping those who are in need or having a problem, and having correct view. That is, knowing where things are coming from, that they're coming from our seeds, not at us from their own side. So there's a lot of vows. And if you have vows, it can be overwhelming to keep track of them. I have 245 vows. And maybe then you feel almost like, well, it's too much, so I'm not even going to try to keep them. But whether you have any vows or not, the book will help us stay focused on what we want to take up and what we want to give up. This all comes directly from the ancient scripts from an enlightened being who knew, not only what in general we should be doing, but knew exactly what I should be doing today with the omniscient mind. So those vows were given to me to help me on my journey. So trying to keep the vows is a fun and joyful effort, or trying to keep the top 10 virtuous deeds. They encompass these top 10. I think Sunam can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe these top 10 cover every vow could somehow go in one of those. Maybe not.
With the ordination vows, not really. There are, yeah.
Okay, so I'll say in a general way, for me, these 10 can encompass everything. So I can go back to these 10 if I get overwhelmed at any time. So I just want to say that trying to keep our goodness is really a joy because we know that it will bring us the result that we want and it makes our life better. So take it slowly and just build on that and don't give up, keep going. When we check this 6 times a day, it's karmic management. We're taking care of our seeds. It's like the ledger. I'm a nerdy superhero movie fan. And I was just watching the Avengers. I think it's the second Avengers, maybe, or there's one where this Scarlett Johansson, who I like a lot, she talks about how her ledger is dripping with red, that she has done so many bad deeds and she wants to try to set it right. So that's another practice that we get to use here is the makeup activity. So we can be inspired by that. So the basic first thing to know is how to make a grid to keep track of this. So in the next slide, you can see that if you're trying to keep 6 times a day, you just make a little grid with 6 boxes. If you're trying to keep 3 times a day book, it'll be 3. I think everyone finds their own way. So I love this is my little book. It's not very big. So I write very tiny. Oh, thank you, Sunam. She's got books coming out of her ears as she finishes them up, one after another. Oh, those are different sizes. You're showing different options. Mm-hmm. I like my little one because it can fit in a small purse and I can keep it with me easily. So you find a book that you like. I think a book that you're attracted to use, or some people do this on an app, and that's fine too. I like the ritual of sitting down in the morning and going over the things I want to keep track of today. That's the other thing. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a person who likes tiny things when it comes to that. I keep my 245 vows on this little tiny piece of paper, which you can't read unless you have glasses. And so I can keep those things with me very easily. So I like to sit down with my coffee and fill it out in the morning. So let's look at a little bit about what that means to fill out your book in the morning, or keep in mind it could be an app where you have a timer set and the electronics feeds you the vow or the top 10 that you should be working on. So in the next slide, you can see that you start filling out each of the boxes with one thing that you're going to keep your mind on today. We're going to talk a lot more about what to choose, how to choose that as we continue on. But the basic way could be just to cycle through the top 10, starting with protecting life and going through that in order. A lot of people like to pick from different categories. So maybe if you're doing the top 10, you might pick one from the body, like protecting life, one from speech, speaking the truth, and one from the things we do with our mind, like being happy for others when they get what they want. And then you've picked one from body, one from speech, and one from mind. Another way to do it is if you have more commitments or vows that you're keeping, is to take, one from each of those different areas. The method that I use is I take my 245 points of focus and I divide them by 6. And then I cycle through them that way. So I do my first one, I do my 44th one, and then I do my 88th one, or something like that. In a way, it's kind of random. It brings them up in a random way. But after 44 days, I will have gone through all my vows if I kept my 6-time book. Sometimes it takes a lot more than 44 days. Then a method that we'll talk about more is picking something that you're working on, which is another very important and beautiful way to keep your book. You can do a combination. You can work on cycling through your vows in a method, and then 1 or 2 of your entries could be on something specific. Like if I'm trying to speak meaningfully and not too fast, then you can, Joanna, sorry. Let's take a drink of coffee or water. If you're trying to speak meaningfully, that can be more entries, and you can keep it top of mind during your day. So let's see. The main thing to remember is that you're managing your karma. The old method I hear is if you would take some white and black stones, little pebbles, and keep them in a bag. And then when you noticed you did something beneficial, you would take a white stone out and put it in your right pocket or your left pocket. I'm not sure. And then you would, if you did something that you regretted, you would take a black stone and put that in the right pocket. And then at the end of the day, you could empty your pockets and look at the mix. Is there more white than black? So this is a modern version of counting on stones. And Sunam is going to give us some additional methods of just the nuts and bolts of how to keep this practice, other things you can put in your book, and how to do it. Over to you, Sunam.
Thank you, Alix. Yeah, I think everybody needs to find their own rhythm, how you proceed through the vows every day. But Alix has given us so many inspirations how to do it. And what I personally like to add as well is checking my main practices. Next slide, please. So at the end of the day, I put on the bottom of the page what I think is important, the 4 things you need to do every day to see emptiness directly. And that is meditation, yoga, study, and serve. These are the 4 which will get us into paradise as well, next to tracking your vows. So I add them on the bottom and check on the end of the day if I have done them. Then you can add other things, like if you are not the best one in doing your coffee meditation, maybe you want to track that as well. So it's your book. You need to figure out what is my priority, what should I work on, and then add accordingly. Like I normally also add gratitude. Do I do my gratitude? Have I worked on my 4th step? And most important, because I would say we are all overachievers, have I taken time to relax? Because otherwise I cannot keep up with everything in that book tomorrow. So make it your own. Add at the bottom what you want to track additionally. And Alix already mentioned it. I normally reserve 2 boxes, one for the main thing I want to plant good seeds for at the moment. And I think everybody is working on a 4-step project. So if I'm working on a 4-step project regarding finances, then I pick the corresponding 10 virtue, which would be generosity, because generosity creates wealth. So I would add generosity every day to support my 4-step project. Or I noticed that I'm really getting angry a lot at the moment, and I really want to work on it. Then I would put being patient in there every day. And I even tested putting being patient in there 6 times per day. Has anybody tried that already? I can only tell you after 2 days, you're so fed up with yourself. It's a depressing one. I would not recommend it. 1 time per day is more than enough to confront yourself with this negative habit and work on it. So now it's time you get out your book and you fill your first box. Next slide, please. So the first one for today, or yesterday, because I made the slides yesterday, is speaking the truth for me. Okay, when have I on purpose decided to speak the truth and not to lie? And then most of the time there are 2 things. Either it's very obvious and it hits your mind immediately and you write it down, or you are sitting there like, I forgot. When have I done that the last time? So normally you should look back to the last 24 hours. But oftentimes nothing comes up in your mind. Then you look back to the last week, to the last month, to the last year, to your 60 years, which I'm on this planet so far. And something will spring up immediately. And then you jot it down. Next slide, please. Oh, I forgot. I normally add the time when I fill it out. Next slide, please. So yesterday, I admitted to Alix at 2 p.m. in the afternoon or whenever it was, because she was sending me slides and asking me questions on how we do our talk today. And I really, and it took me really, I did it on purpose. Sorry, Alix, I have not yet had the time to prepare. I'm starting now. And this was really from my side, speaking the truth, admitting that I'm late, behind, and that I start now. Yeah, rejoice. I was. I spoke the truth. I have not put up some kind of whatever, which is so easy to do. And that brings me to my negative to that one. Next slide, please. To be able to finalize my preparation for today, I put forth a little bit of a lie. I canceled the date I had for the afternoon. And I was not honest with that person. I put forth some kind of, this general excuse. Oh, it's a rainy day. I want to sit on the couch. Instead of saying, oh, I'm behind. I need to prepare a class. Sorry. And you notice these are the small ones, I think. We might not even notice these if we don't keep the book. We would not catch it, or I would not catch it. So the book also makes you so much more aware which kind of seeds you are planting. So that's also some kind of side benefit, that you are getting more and more and more aware what kind of seeds you are planting. So I did this small white lie, I think it's called in English. I regret it. And I promise myself I will improve on that. And that leads us to the action or antidote or makeup action for this one. Next slide, please. With the makeup action, we are also working on our karmic balance. Okay, I have this black pebble here. So let's balance it with something good. In this case, it's quite easy. I just call the person, make a new appointment, and promise myself, stick to it, not cancel it. And I find the makeup action, it's a very, very fine art to make the makeup action very, very small. We are all overachievers. In the beginning, I would have written there, I don't cancel any meeting for the next week or the next month with a white lie. How do you even track that? Do I create more bad karma if I make the antidote so big that I cannot keep it? Just as a hint. That's why I personally try to make the antidote that small that I can do it till my next entry comes up. Or latest by the end of the day. It's the small things which are so important in our life. Don't make this big promises here. We are all busy. And as said, it might be even bad karma if it make it so big, then you can not even do it. It's about call this person immediately, make a new date. Offer somebody a cup of tea. Think in your mind for 10 seconds, what are the good qualities? So these are not referring to the truth. I just give you a few ideas. And the second thing, which I think is also very important when you decide what is your action or your makeup action, do you do it in your mind or is it an action in the outside? I would like to hear from you. If you are mainly doing your makeup action in your mind, please type a 1. If it is something in the outside most of the time, like giving somebody a cup of tea, please type a 2. Oh, I'm not keeping up with my messages. Ones. Yeah. Yeah. Think about emptiness is a very common one, a very good one. Steve is switching. So I see, and this really proves my theory, either you tend to do it in your mind or you tend to do it in the outside. And I think this depends on your personality type a little bit. I'm a doer, mine are mostly in the outside. Alix, are you a doer or a thinker? So, and thank you for the question, which one is better? Don't diamond deal me, is my answer. Try to balance it. Try to do 50% in your mind and 50% in action. Really try to balance it out. Like here, I called the person and made a new date with her. I could also choose one in my mind. Yeah, because I'm a doer, I'm having problems to find one from my mind here. Maybe you can make a suggestion. And as said, I really try to balance it. And I notice really these things in my mind. Some are easy, but oftentimes it's hard for me. And also sometimes the minus you enter maybe implies if it is better to do one in your mind or in your action. Let me check my list if I forgot something. How long does it take to fill a box? Don't make it overcomplicated. If you're good, it should be 30 seconds or a minute. We all know the famous example, if you cannot do it in front of your colleagues, go to the toilet. And I find it interesting because Alix and I talked about it. So I'm a bullet journal. That's why I always have this big book. So I put it in my bullet journal. I think, Alix, you are keeping it with your time planner.
Yeah, I have my appointments on one side and then my
And so if you open it and write your book entry, nobody even knows if you are taking notes, checking your calendar, or making a book entry. So now, how do you remind yourself that you want to keep your book 3 times per day, 5 times per day, 6 times per day? The next slide, please. Thank you, Marina. So the first one is you connect it to specific times during the day. At 6 in the morning, I do my first entry normally after I load my book. Then at 9, at 12, at 3, at 6. That's also the beauty of the apps, that they push it to you on the phone at certain times. For me, this method is not working because I always feel disturbed by anything I do at the moment. So I choose personally, if that works for you, perfect, use it. I personally choose the second method. I tie it to specific events. That's why there is food on it. Most people eat 3 times per day, so you already covered 3 if you do it before or after your meal. The other one is a car. That's what I tied it to. When I get into the car, I do my book. Joanna is looking at me, weird idea. Maybe it's something else for you. Maybe it is when you come home, or when you, I don't know. I tie it to another habit, and that works for me. And you need to find a habit or 2 habits, like I did with eating and being in the car, which covers my 6 times per day. Maybe it is before you open your laptop. Maybe it is when your kids leave the house. Find something where you can connect it to. And the last one on the right side are these 2 beautiful ladies. Hint, 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 hint. Maybe you want to help somebody else to keep their book. And I would even say that you can really make that a very special, lifetime long project, that you meet maybe twice per month together, and you talk about your biggest rejoice plus entries and your most important bad seeds you jotted down. Sometimes it's very important to do so, because somebody from the outside can just help you better. This is a practice which is part of ordination that we meet every 2 weeks and do a confess and rejoice. And I have connected many people to do that with the book as well. Meet every 2 weeks, pick your biggest 3 good ones, your 3 to confess, talk about it, and that keeps you sticking to the book, sticking to the practice. I highly, highly recommend it. And it's a little bit weird in the beginning because I don't know about you, but I don't want to share all my minuses with you. I would feel ashamed. But if you do it with somebody you really connected with over time, you will get the trust to really share your biggest bad seeds you have done, and also rejoice in the good ones and help each other in improving. So that's the ultimate cause, that you can stick to your book. And when you, at the end of the day, maybe check all your, meditation, yoga, study, surf, then please also double check your antidotes and maybe check them off if you have done them. And then normally at the end of the week, I also look back like, oh, here are the last 2 ones missing. Oh, this one was quite good. Oh, on that day, there are even 3 missing. Also do some kind of weekly review in the sense of, oh, I always missed the one during lunchtime. Or as you see, my learning is, oh, I always miss the ones at the end of the day, maybe the last one or even the 2 last ones. So maybe then think about a strategy how you can remind yourself about these. Obviously, as said, I missed the one after dinner or the last one of the day. Maybe I should really go this one with a timer and put a timer in my phone, which reminds me. Or if you always miss the one in the early morning, then figure out a way how you can tie it to a habit or how you can get a timer reminder for it. Then I also do a monthly review where I decide, as said, I mentioned I have in one box always the same every day. Like, I'm working on my anger, be patient. At the end of the month, I decide if I have seen progress, if I switch it to something else, or if I keep it, or if I make it more specific. Oh, I noticed when I check all my entries, most of the time I get angry when I'm hungry. Maybe I should add that I need to eat lunch. So these reviews are very, very important in my eyes. That is how you make it your own. that is how you work on the balance of your seeds. You notice which one is missing. You notice, oh, this being patient is getting better now. Maybe I should move on to something else, or maybe I need to refine it because I found out it's quite good. I'm patient most of the time, only when I'm hungry. So should I go the route to work on being patient even when I'm hungry, or should I go the route, don't get hungry, to protect other people, that I'm not angry at them? So I think the reviews are very, very important. And before I hand it over to Alix, I would like to reinforce. If you do your weekly review and you notice I only have 2 entries per day and 4 are empty, for heaven's sake, start with 2 entries per day. Because then you get positive reinforcement. Yes, I did my 2 entries today. Instead of feeling guilty at the end of the day that you missed 4, and you take the fun out of the book. Because this one is really fun. And then if you feel after 3 months, the 2, I'm really stable, now I add a 3rd one. Don't go from 2 to 6, go from 2 to 3. Do it for 3 months. Yes, now I'm stable, add a 4th one. Maybe I should go back to 5. So really the art is make it your own. Review, adjust, learn from it. And you have a few more secret tips, Alix.
Wow. So many great tricks from someone who's been keeping their book for a long time.
Not all the time.
Some breaks, occasional breaks.
There are breaks where you forget to do it. And then you notice after 2 months, I have not done my book since 2 months. As with every other practice, I admit and confess, yes.
Thank you. And you mentioned that we're here to help share information about keeping the book. And we're here because we want to make our own book practice better. So we're sharing with others. You already gave me some great tips. I love the idea of doing 50% of your antidote or activity as something in the outer world and 50% as something on the inside, an inner mental practice. I hadn't thought of that. It goes right along with the idea in yoga, how we're knocking on the pipes from the outside and from the inside. Mm-hmm. So that's really helpful to me. Thank you for suggesting that. As far as mental antidotes, I tend to rely on those more heavily, but I'm going to change that to be more balanced. Every time we fill out our book, we're actually keeping one of our refuge commitments, which is to take refuge 6 times a day or 3 times a day. So what does that mean, taking refuge? I think all of you have probably studied this concept before. In the most simple terms, I would say it's recalling emptiness and seeds, emptiness and karma. And and recalling that our world is coming from what we think, say, and do in the past. So we can change it. So we can make this world into paradise. So my mental activity is often thinking about that when I'm doing my book, that I'm recalling emptiness, that there's nothing that's not coming from me, and recalling that what I do is creating my world. So that's a simple way every time we fill out our book to be doing a mental antidote. But it might not be powerful enough unless you write down, I'm doing a 30-second emptiness meditation right now, and that's my antidote. Maybe you have a regular meditation practice and you are going to do an emptiness meditation during that practice. That's a great antidote as well. And during that meditation, you can be thinking about what you wrote down in your book, recalling that. That's a little tip I have about a mental antidote. So also, I want to talk a little bit more about what Sunam said about helping somebody else. When I took Bodhisattva vows, Sunam was there. That was quite a few years ago. I don't know, maybe 9 years ago or something like that. And another friend of ours took the Bodhisattva vows at the same time. And Sunam came up to us and took us both by the hands and brought us together and said, why don't you two try to keep your vows together and meet every 2 weeks to discuss it? We did that for many, many years, and it was very beautiful practice. So thank you, Sunam, for connecting us. Rejoice in that. We ended up adding more people to the group. And maybe because of that, it started to shift at some point, different time zones, different groups we were involved in, and we ended up drifting away from that practice. But I'm inspired now to maybe go back to that or pick a new person. I'm working on another practice with someone else, and every day we send a message to each other that we completed our practice. That can be a really good way, as well as meeting every 2 weeks to get a big overview of what's happened. For me, the accountability of needing to let someone know that I was able to keep my book today is a really good reminder, and we have both found that it keeps us going on our practice. I'm trying to use Sunam's excellent example of how to leave pauses for the interpreters. Thank you very much, all of you who are interpreting today. I can see you on the screen, so I can see if your lips are still moving, it's time for a little bit of a breath. That's a tip for all of you who do international sharing, teaching. I want to talk a little bit about how the book has personally worked for me. Like Sunam, I've had some times where I kept it very well, and then I've had some times where I fell off of it. There were many years, about 5 or 6 years, where I kept it very strongly. And one of the reasons why I kept it very well is because I got really great results. Not long after I started learning this system, I had already had a problem, an ongoing problem, when I was introduced to Geshe Michael's system of seeds and emptiness and such great practical application, which I hadn't gotten in other areas where I had learned Buddhism particularly. So my problem was I have a business partner, and in my perception, she's not here right now, so I can talk about her. In my perception, she talked too much, drove me crazy with talking. And it didn't seem to be meaningful speech to me. Just random words that would be interrupting my concentration, causing business meetings to take twice as long as they should. And it appeared to be difficult to get to the main point of what we were trying to discuss. My level of irritation at this was very high. I would come back at night and complain to my partner, Ben, she's driving me crazy. Then I was introduced to the book and decided I can change this situation without trying to confront her. I'd actually tried that. I had tried that before the book. It didn't come out well. I decided to try to change her by using the book. My task was to watch my speech very carefully. When you have a problem, you particularly have the seeds more than other people for that problem, especially if it's a reoccurring problem. Those are your special seeds from maybe long ago, or from a subtle habit that you have. And so you have a reoccurring problem that may show up in different people, in different situations. I decided to tackle speech, and particularly meaningful speech. I used my book to really pay attention to what I was talking about. Was it helpful to the other person? I discovered that I spend a lot of time talking about things that I'm interested in, rather than thinking about what the other person is interested in or would like to talk about. What I discovered by using my book is that there was a lot of selfishness in my speech patterns. Through using the book, I became a better listener, I hope. I became a better partner in conversation. And as this practice developed, I also was more aware that it was possible that I could say something that might help the other person if I was aware of what they needed. Words became more than just a way to pass time or a way to socially connect with people, which isn't a bad thing. Connecting with people socially is important. If someone else wants to talk about the weather or sports, then I can talk with them about it, knowing that I'm connecting with them in a deeper way. But I tried to see words as something that is actively useful to somebody else. Of course, that means that the words need to be truthful. They need to be kind. and they need to bring people together. Because those are the useful things that we can do when we're with another person. Oh, what was the result? You're wondering, oh, how did it all turn out? How did the story turn out? My business partner, Tiari, transformed into a best friend, a business partner who helped me in so many ways to create a huge amount of wealth and security. I mean, huge for me. And her, the words that she spoke to me became much more meaningful and useful to me. I forgot I ever had a problem with her talking too much. The problem disappeared. That inspired me to keep my book for many, many years. That was the fuel because it was such a big shift in my life. And my poor boyfriend, Ben, didn't have to listen to me complain all the time anymore. So, Sunam, should I talk about the concentric circles? I think a little bit we'll talk about that. I see I'm a little bit off my timing, but I think we have time. So this practice, I'm shifting now to another tip for how to keep your book. And you could show the next slide, please. This way of thinking about our top 10 is to have a graph of circles. It can be thought of in two ways. You might have seen it done with the thing you don't want in the middle. This graph comes from my book that I recently wrote, Seeds of True Success. Small plug there. And we decided to put the thing that you want in the middle. And I've heard it taught this way as well. So in the middle, in this example, is speaking to bring others together. And in order to speak to bring others together, we want to avoid certain activities. To keep this perfectly, the first thing we would want to avoid is, even in our own mind, pointing out other people's thoughts. Faults. I think I said thoughts. Let me correct that. Pointing out other people's faults. This is something that I have reduced a lot. It's judging others. I noticed once I started watching it that I'm judging others all day long, taking their inventory, as we say. It's not very useful. It's really a bad habit and hard to get rid of. So that's a subtle way of dividing people, is looking at their faults. Then a less subtle way is to open your mouth and tell someone else another person's faults. Gossiping. And from there, when we're gossiping, we're starting to actively divide people away from each other. We're turning people away from each other. The book gives you the opportunity to notice when you do that and to ask yourself, why? Why would I do that? What I discovered in my own mind is that I felt that people, that somehow I could be closer to them, or I could hold on to people or look better if we could get rid of somebody else. I mean, that thought is an unconscious thought. It's not in your mind when you're gossiping. But part of the root of the habit of gossip is really actively wanting to divide people from each other. And that brings us to excluding. Maybe you don't invite somebody somewhere. You don't include them in a project. Even in your own mind, you see somebody who is lonely or not connected well to the group, and you just ignore them. You don't even try to connect with them at all. And then the more outer circle, the grossest way is actually causing a split on purpose, breaking up a relationship, a partnership, getting someone fired from a job. So these, from the actually committing the wrong deed is causing a split in this case. But there's all these subtle layers of things that we need to break through to get to keeping our morality in a very beautiful way. Next slide, please. The reason we're going over this is to help you find things to write about in your book. When you keep your book for a long time, the gross, big misdeeds you do get smaller, and the small misdeeds need to be explored more. Sunam provided me with this example, which is maybe a more traditional way of teaching the practice, where the thing you don't want is in the middle. And if you never want to be an adulterer, that means cheating on your own partner or having sexual misconduct with someone else's partner who is married or in a relationship. That's adultery. Then you would, in order to not do that, if you never touched someone who was inappropriate, then you would never commit adultery with them. And in order to never touch them, if you never sit alone with them, then you would never touch them. You wouldn't have the opportunity to touch them. You would never sit alone with them, putting yourself in a situation where you might touch them, if you never looked at them or stayed even close to them. And you would never look at them if you, well, here we switch slightly to talking more than appropriate. So maybe you are near, you're around them in some way, but you're trying to attract the attention of somebody else by talking more than you should to that person. If you never look at someone else's partner, you won't be thinking thoughts about being attracted to them. And if you're not doing any of those things, you're never looking at someone else's partner, then you can go even one more step more subtle and make sure that you're not looking at sexy advertisements of a person who might be married. Or if you're in a committed relationship, you're thinking someone is sexy in the movies. Okay, this happens to me. You might be thinking that someone is attractive and you don't even know them. So does that mean we can't enjoy a good-looking person that we see walking down the street? No. Sunam, what do you think?
I personally think it is, what is your motivation behind? If you look at the person and you regard them as a potential romantic partner, then I think you should look away.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that advice.
if you look at the person and think, oh, what a beautiful smile, or what, you know, it's really, you need to go into your mind why you are looking at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think we can appreciate natural beauty, the sky, the trees, beautiful people around. So we can think of them, you know, as part of the beautiful environment.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can take the slide down. Thank you. Keeping the book doesn't take very long. I originally said an hour a day. That's too much. Then I put a half hour a day. No, it doesn't even take that long. It depends how long you sit there and scratch your head trying to figure out something to write. Probably 15 minutes a day is all it would take to do 6 times book. So if you're only doing 3 times book, 5 or 10 minutes a day. That amount of investment is really worth the results that I got. And I think you'll find it's worth the results you'll get. I'm inspired by this idea of passive causes because I have a big breakthrough I want to make. And I'm ready to make a dynamic breakthrough where I jump from one point to another. And watching the subtle causes is going to help me with that. You know, but it's not like a rubbing a lamp, a genie comes out and grants your wishes. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sunam for the wrap up and some Q&A. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. The next slide, please. So this is because we called it the wish fulfilling tree. This tree, I think, represents in this snowy landscape, represents our life at the moment. We are quite comfortable. It might be a little bit cold outside. And maybe a few nice leaves of happiness are missing. But if you really, as Alix said, it's not like that you ask the tree to fulfill the wishes. You make the tree beautiful by keeping your book, by taking care of your karmic balance, by working on your worst mental afflictions. And then this tree, next slide, please, develops in this beautiful, happy life, which leads us to enlightenment. So the tree is more the goal, and we need to do it by these small things, reminding emptiness 6 times per day, checking what is going on in our deeds and actions and thoughts, and take care of the karmic balance. And because you, as said, most of you are already keeping the book, I think you are more than aware that what the book does in helping us to keep our worldview, to take care of our seed management, and it really leads us to the final goal, to this beautiful paradise, sitting under that tree. Thank you so much. I think we even have time to answer a few questions. I saw, I don't know if the translators want to read back to us in English, if they have been in other languages. Just open your mic, and I think you are allowed to do so.
There's one question about where to find the recording of the class. I don't know the answer to that. So maybe someone from the world.
Marina.
I think it will be in Telegram chats. So we will send everywhere.
In
Don't worry.
which chats?
We will catch you. We have English and not just English. We have several languages. But I will send right now Telegram chat.
Cool. That would be great if you send the links to the chats if somebody is not member. Thank you, Marina.
I hope it will be in this chat. Okay.
You are my wish fulfilling tree.
Yes, or how to join the Telegram groups. I don't think I'm in them. Maybe, or do you, from the ACI website, maybe is where you can find the links to join.
Gina says in the ACA channel and YouTube channel. Yeah. So we get you the links. Thank you so much. Have you seen any other questions? If there are no questions, 5, 4.
I have a question for you, Sunam.
Yes, please.
Can you give us some more tips about how we can tell that we're making progress? You know, when we're close to ourselves, it's hard to see small changes, right? So how do we know if the book is working for us?
It's as said, when I see people doing the book, there is a point where they, we are all practicing or come to the Dharma because we have a drama in our life. So when you then start with the book, after half a year, after a year, you start shining, you start being happy. My personal example, I think that happened about 1.5 years after I started with the book. I went every year to a musical workshop, and I only went there because I was part of a band. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the people. I was sitting there for the whole weekend being unhappy. After I started the book 1.5 years later, I was sitting at the same workshop weekend with the same people, and I enjoyed it. I was happy. It was the best time of my life.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, you're still going.
I have a second answer. Sometimes you don't even notice that you are happier than before. So another indicator, and Geshe Michael said at one point, and that's why I quote him here, because I just can confirm it. Maybe Alix, you can confirm it as well. Because doing the book is practicing, working on your seeds. So he says, when your life is not speeding up by 100% every second year, you are not practicing. Oh yeah, I see you nodding. It's really, if you have this feeling that there is this excitement in that life, that things are changing, that you go up the upward spiral, that you have the feeling your life goes in a faster pace than you can even follow up on, then you're doing it right.
Thank you. I was going to see if we could get to Chris Sparks's question. I know time is short, but she has her hand up.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was wondering if you have any advice about, I seem to have those mental makeups that are like ADHD, dyslexia, those kinds of things. And so it doesn't really work unless I write things down. But when I write things in a journal, it's like I'm scribbling, and I spend all my time like criticizing my handwriting rather than getting into what I'm doing. And I don't know how to get past the, and I do mass quantities of preparation, and I, research, and I do this, but it's like, what do you think is the best advice for just doing it that doesn't sound like, that good old thing that religions tell you about, well, just be perfect, when you have a block and you just need to take those first steps. But there's some things that are like my handwriting. It's not like I want to go and take a calligraphy course or anything. I just want to get to the goal, not prepare for the goal. And that seems to be where I'm circling. So any advice?
Thank you for the good question, Chris. Perfectionism is a big obstacle for us, right? We in a system like this where we're trying to reach perfection, it can bring up the obstacles of trying to be perfect. So I know our time is very limited right now, so I would just say carrots and potatoes, start small. And maybe for you, the app is better to take the handwriting out of it altogether. But
Yeah.
please just start small with one entry a day and try to build up a small habit. We have one more slide if we could show that. Oh, go ahead, Venerable.
I would like to add something, Chris. It's a big and important thing that you don't get petrified by your own criticism or guilt. It's a very, very big concept that you notice it and then you say, oh, that's how it is. Let's move on. Let's plant good seeds for it. Maybe if you criticize your handwriting so much, maybe gift somebody a beautiful pen and you will see that maybe your handwriting. So think about it really. Never ever get into this petrified guilt thing.
Thank you.
Catch yourself. Think about the emptiness of the situation and how you can plant good seeds to overcome it. Cool. Thank you for the question. Very, very important. Yes, yes. Thank you, Alix, for reminding us of the last picture. So we gathered a few resources for you. There is a beautiful PDF which has been compiled by Venerable Geshe decades ago about the book, especially for beginners. I think it's beautiful to get a little bit more details about the 10 good deeds and also to revise how to set it up. Then we linked a talk which Geshe Michael gave about the book. And then for all digital natives out there under 50 who want to use an app, there is one which is called Keep My Vows. It is only available in English, but it has all vow sets, including Diamond Way for the ones who want it. And you can donate to Diamond Mountain if you want to and like this app. It has been created by one of Lama Sumati students. Very, very nice. Then there is a Telegram based, which is available in English, Russian, and Ukrainian. There you can have the 10 virtues, the refuge, and the Bodhisattva vows. It is a monthly donation. I heard good things about it. I have never tested it. As said, I'm a handwriter. But if you are a digital native, test them out. All pictures we used are kindly from Unsplash. Thank you to all the translators. Thank you to the tech host, Hanfan, and do I pronounce that correctly? Hanfan and Marina, thank you. I don't know, Marina, if we could put these links as well in the Telegram chat, or I also have a PDF if you want to share.
She did. They're there. Yeah, great.
I will
And
ask them. Yes.
thank you so much for being here, for wanting to be better bookkeepers. Thank you, Alix. It's always fun.
Thank you, Sunam. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
And we're already over time, so get your ticket to paradise. Next book entry now.
Bye, everybody. Find a partner to help you keep your book. That's one of my biggest takeaways. Let's go.
Let's go. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Sunam.
Thank you.
Thank you for amazing class. Thank you for teaching us. Please keep teaching us.
Great teaching.
Thank you.